Our movie begins in a classroom where Mr. Marty is with his students, and a student is standing and reciting a poem about life and death, saying that it's not about the fear of death, but about living life. Suddenly, Mr. Marty sees a fire truck and police cars moving quickly outside, and when he notices changes on his students' faces, as if something has caught their attention, he asks them, "What's going on?" One of the female students tells him that a major earthquake has occurred. California is sinking into the ocean, and a volcano has erupted in Germany. And it seems like the world is ending, but Mr. Marty reassures them and asks them not to worry. What's strange is that the internet suddenly goes down and stops working. And what's even stranger is that despite the world seemingly ending and everything turning upside down, Mr. Marty holds meetings with the students' parents to talk about the students' academic performance and discusses that students shouldn't miss school. But these requests are met with rejection from the parents who tell him that the internet is down and many problems are happening. The ocean is swallowing Russia and California, and other countries are in chaos. After the meeting, we notice traffic and disorder on the roads due to the internet outage, which has also disabled traffic signals. Mr. Marty is driving his car and notices a large sign hanging on a building that says, "Thank you, Charles Chuck, for 39 great years," and he doesn't understand why they're thanking him. But we will understand together a little later, dear viewer. So stay focused and hit the like button because this is one of the deepest movies you might ever watch in your life. Then we go to Felicia, Marty's ex, or more accurately, his ex-wife. Felicia is sitting sadly due to the city's situation. And let me tell you that Felicia works as a nurse and is sad because all her colleagues' lives ended in front of her. One of her colleagues comes and talks to her, then asks her which is better and easier, divorce or marriage. She answers him saying that marriage is better because for people it's easier to get back together. Divorce requires months of procedures while marriage can happen in just 1 hour. It seems that Felicia is longing to get back with her ex-husband. And that's why while Marty is watching TV, he gets a call from Felicia who tells him she's been thinking about him all day. She also asks him the same question, which is easier, marriage or divorce? Marty replies, "Of course marriage is easier." And the two of them keep talking on the phone, reminiscing about the past. Felicia asks Marty to make her laugh like he used to. So he tells her, "Today, I was with one of the parents who looks just like a penguin that breathes through its butt. I think if he sits down, he'll die." Felicia laughs at what he says and starts telling him about her job and complaining as women usually do. She tells him that her boss at the hospital decided to leave because he felt like the world is ending and he wants to spend his time with the people he loves. Even the nurses are going back to their families who love them. Everyone wants their life to end with the ones they love. And she subtly hints that she wants to get back with him to spend whatever time they have left together, because it seems like the universe is coming to an end. Marty tells her, "Speaking of the universe, let me tell you its story quickly. Imagine the entire age of the universe as just 1 year. Humans appeared at 10:30 p.m. on December 31st, just an hour and a half before the end of the year. And all of history we know from the first civilizations until today happened in the last 10 seconds. We are literally nothing in the age of the universe, just a flash. And that's when the question comes, is the universe really dying and we're at the final moment? Or is there still time? Or maybe all of this happened and ended in a heartbeat. It really makes you feel how short the time we live in is and how much we need to appreciate it." Felicia tells him, "Your words are really deep, Marty, but today I saw something strange. Despite everything going on, I saw an ad that said, 'Thank you, Charles Chuck, for 39 wonderful years.'" Marty tells her he saw the same ad too, and is also puzzled by how someone is putting up ads at the end of the world. Based on the pictures in the ads, he guesses that Charles Cr. or Chuck might be an accountant. When he ends the call with her and checks his phone, he sees a commercial on TV saying the same thing, "Thank you for 39 great years." But don't worry, dear viewer, the mystery will be cleared up soon. Just be patient because the story is really beautiful. In the morning, Marty runs into his neighbor who tells him that in order to get back home, he had to walk a really long distance because a deep crater had opened up in the road and cut the city in half. So, he had to take a long route. What's even stranger is that he saw a billboard that said, Thank you, Charles Cr. for 39 great years. Marty sees an employee who works with his ex-wife at the hospital, so he asks her if Felicia is there. The employee replies that she doesn't know anything because she couldn't even reach the hospital due to the crater, and the whole road was just full of billboards saying, "Thank you, Charles Cr." She walks away and Marty goes back to talking with his neighbor. The neighbor tells him that they've now accepted the end of the world. Earlier that day, people were worried about their jobs and their future. But now they've come to terms with everything and don't care anymore because they know their lives could end at any moment. That's why nobody is causing trouble. People just want to die with dignity at the end of the world. At that moment, they're both surprised when they see a plane riding in the sky. Thank you, Charles Chuck. On the other side, we see Felicia arriving late at the hospital, scared for the patients, wanting to check on them as quickly as possible. But her colleague tells her that there's no one left in the hospital. Everyone has left. The staff, the patients, everyone. At that moment, they're both shocked to see all the heart rate monitors suddenly turn on at the same time, making the exact same sound in the same rhythm, displaying the same number, even though all the beds are empty. Felicia is stunned by what's happening because it's as if all the devices are connected to just one person. On the other side, Marty decides to go find Felicia and spend the end with her. On his way, he also sees the billboard with the Charles Cr. ad. He meets an old man named Sam and asks him, "Do you know who the person in this picture is?" Sam replies, "No, I don't. I asked around 20 people and no one knows." Both of them are puzzled. How could there be an ad that just says, "Thank you"? Who cares about thanking someone at the end of the world? They walk together and Sam tells Marty that he's a journalist and his focus is on weather phenomena. He tells him, if the age of the universe were just 1 year, humans would have appeared at 10:30 p.m. on December 31st, and all the history we know up to today happened in the last 10 seconds, my friend. We are so small. We don't know whether the world is really ending now or just beginning. After a while, Sam gets tired and says, "I'm going to rest here for a bit. You go ahead on your own." So, Marty continues alone. He runs into a teenage girl who's scared of him at first, but he tells her he's on his way to see his ex-wife, Felicia Jordan. The girl replies, "Yes, I know her. She's a kind woman. She used to give us candy and cookies." Marty asks her what she's doing out so late at this hour. And the girl says, "Skating. I'm just trying to have a good time." Suddenly, the power goes out and all the lights shut off. So, Marty tells her to go back home because it's pitch black outside. The girl asks him, "Is everything going to be okay?" And Marty replies, "I hope so." Suddenly, the houses around them light up with ads saying, "Thank you, Charles Cr. for 39 great years." Marty gets worried and tells the girl to go home, then rushes to the house of his ex-lover, Felicia. As soon as Felicia sees him, she says, "Oh, thank God," and runs to hug him. Marty is confused about how the Charles ad is also at her place, and she tells him, "It's everywhere, bro." At that moment, we switch to Charles, who is lying in bed, hooked up to heart monitors, and his condition looks really bad. It seems like he's on his deathbed. In the room with him are his wife and son, who are deeply saddened. We notice that the heart rate is at 75, just like we saw earlier. We then go back to Marty and Felicia, who are now reunited and planning to spend the end of the world together. They sit side by side on chairs talking about the stars. Marty points out the Sirius star and the chicken star, then holds her hand. They continue looking at the sky and everything above is beautiful. As Felicia points toward the North Star, it suddenly disappears. Then Mars vanishes. After that, the stars begin to disappear one by one, and it seems that the end of the world is now official. Felicia tells Marty that she's scared, and he tells her he's scared too. We go back again to Charles, his wife and his son, and his wife says, 39 great years. Thank you, Charles. Quickly, we return to Marty and Felicia. All the stars have disappeared, the world has ended, and they confess their love for each other. And with that, the third act of this deep film comes to a close. But don't worry, dear viewer, the movie is being told in reverse chapters. We now head into the second chapter of the film where we see a girl named Taylor Frank getting her drum kit ready to play. The atmosphere is lovely, and the city is full of life. Taylor is optimistic and excited to play. And although this isn't her main job and her parents don't approve of her performing in the streets and accepting donations, she's willing to do it in her free time because she loves music. At the same time, we move to Janice Holiday as she's on her way home after work and her boyfriend has just broken up with her through a messenger text. Janice is extremely angry because her boyfriend left her after 16 months, and now her life feels miserable. Like she's doomed to end up in this state after she used to train in dancing when she was a child and was truly talented. We then go to Charles CR at last, who works as an accountant in banking and similar fields. Charles is known among his friends as Chuck. He's sipping his coffee while going over some numbers. As he continues walking, we hear a voiceover that reveals his life isn't exactly great, even though he's a hard worker. He has a wife named Jenny whom he met in high school and a smart son in middle school. And we learn that what's really on Charles's mind is the fact that he only has 9 months left to live. His life is going to end soon. At that moment, Taylor has been playing her drums for 10 minutes and still hasn't received a single donation. She notices Charles approaching, looking like a businessman. So she decides to switch the rhythm to a cowboy-style beat, something that would match Charles's steps and maybe inspire him to donate. But Charles doesn't. He stands there thinking for a moment, then with a slight smile puts down his briefcase and starts getting into the rhythm, dancing. Taylor changes the beat and Charles matches her with a new dance move. It's clear he's very skilled in dance. Not just an amateur moving randomly, but someone with polished professional moves. This suggests he studied dance academically at some point. Just then, Janice arrives at the scene and everyone gathers to watch them. Janice wants something to distract her from her recent breakup. So, she starts swaying with the music and joining in the vibe with Charles. When Charles notices her enthusiasm, he walks up to her and says, "Word for word, come on, little sister, let's dance." And indeed, the two of them step into the square and start dancing brilliantly to Taylor's rhythm, who keeps smoothly changing the beat every now and then. Charles and Janice respond beautifully, dancing in a way that's more than excellent. Charles touches his glasses as if something is bothering him. So, Janice gets a bit worried, but he reassures her, takes off his glasses and keeps dancing. The two continue dancing with the crowd cheering them on, their performance full of life as if they're living the final moments of their lives, but living them happily. The rhythm builds up, and the audience gets more and more excited until the dance ends. Everyone claps for Charles and Janice, and they're truly delighted by them. For the first time in her life, Taylor experiences a day this unique, and she earns more money than she ever has before. After the performance, Janice and Charles go with Taylor to sit at a riverside cafe. Taylor splits the earnings with them, telling them that if it weren't for them, she wouldn't have made even half that amount, even if she drummed until midnight. Taylor asks Charles, "Why did you stop and dance in front of me? What was the reason?" But after a moment of reflection, Charles tells her, "I don't know." Taylor says, "So, you guys don't want to change your career and dance with me professionally?" Then she bids them farewell with a smile and joy and walks away. After that, Charles walks along with Janice. He notices that she's deep in thought, so he tells her, "Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. I don't need to know what's on your mind. As long as you're still breathing, choose to be happy." They reach the end of their path together, and Janice thanks Charles for the dance and walks away. Then we see the girl who met Marty and was skating. She's there now along with Felicia's colleague, who's sitting at a nearby cafe. Charles stands there looking at the spot where Taylor had been sitting, contemplating what really made him dance. But he doesn't know the reason, and he doesn't really care. In a few months, he'll lose the ability to walk. He'll lose the ability to chew food. He'll even forget his wife's name. So what harm is there in dancing a little with the little sister? What he will remember is that he stood in the middle of the street and simply had a joyful moment, one that etched itself into memory. That's the end of the second chapter. We now move to the first chapter where we see the childhood of Charles Chuck. He's living with his grandparents since his parents died in a car crash. As a result, he now stays at their home. His grandmother loved music. She used to dance in the kitchen, completely lost in the rhythm while young Charles watched her, delighted to see her so in sync with the melody. She'd walk over to him, smile, and say, "Come on, little brother, let's dance." And now we understand why he said the same words to Janice earlier. Come on, little sister. Charles spent his days with his grandma, happy and carefree, learning how to dance with her. One day, he grew curious about a locked room in the house and wondered why it was always shut. His grandparents told him, "The floor in there is unstable. That's why it's locked." After losing his son, Charles's grandfather wasn't the same anymore. He drank, and when people drink, they can say things that are hard to hear. One day, his grandfather said to Charles, "Do you know that if the entire lifespan of the universe was a single year, humans would have appeared on December 31st at around 10 p.m., and everything we know about human history happened in the last 10 seconds of that year? We're so small, so brief, it makes you reflect, especially after I lost my closest friends recently." Then he said, "You know what the worst feeling in life is, kid? It's waiting. Waiting for your end, knowing when and how it's going to come." Just then, Grandma walks in and sits with Charles to talk to him for a while. She explains that the way Grandpa is acting is because of someone named Peterson. One day, when Grandpa was young, Peterson chased a ball into the street and got hit by a car. Grandpa saw it coming. He saw the accident before it happened, but he couldn't stop it, and he's carried that guilt ever since. The next morning, Grandma sends him out with some candy for their elderly neighbor. Charles asks her about Henry Peterson, saying, "Grandpa told me his life ended peacefully." The old lady replies, "Peacefully. He hanged himself after his wife ran away with a younger man." The next day at school after class, Charles asks his teacher what the saying, "I am large, I contain multitudes" means. The teacher places his head between her hands and asks him, "What's between my hands?" Charles answers, "My head, I guess." She says, "No, between my hands are all the people you know, everything you see, everything you've ever known. The whole world is in here, Charles. So you get to choose what to fill it with. Every person you meet, or even imagine, you have to decide what you'll keep in your head about them. That's what it means to contain multitudes." Charles, she sends him on his way. And by coincidence, we see Mr. Marty is in his classroom, feeling a little nervous. Dear viewer, don't worry. I'll explain everything in the end. Anyway, the days pass and Grandma's life comes to an end. Suddenly, while she's at the grocery store, Charles attends her funeral and is comforted by everyone who knew her. A few weeks later, Charles goes to the grocery store and asks the clerk what happened to his grandmother. She takes him to the exact spot where it happened and tells him she just collapsed all of a sudden. He goes back home and tries to open the locked room and succeeds. But suddenly Grandpa arrives, yells at him, and throws him out of the room. The shocking part is that Grandpa is stunned by what he sees inside. He's absolutely terrified. When he comes down to take the room key from Charles, the boy asks, "What did you see, Grandpa? Please tell me." But Grandpa replies, "You can't know, my boy. I'm sorry. Forgive me." The next day at school, Charles sees a flyer for dance lessons and decides to sign up because dancing is the one thing that reminds him of his sweet, kind grandma. Indeed, the training begins on various types of dance, and with each style, Charles already knows the moves because his grandmother had taught him. Over time, he becomes one of the best students and dances with a skilled classmate, Jenny. Charles shows her the moonwalk dance, explains the exact steps, and teaches her how to do it. The instructor comes over impressed by the dance and decides to have all the students learn it. On the way back from dance class with Jenny, she tells him that she's going out with her boyfriend, Dudgy Winrath, who's huge compared to the short Charles. One night, Charles asks his grandpa to help him understand something in math because he hates it and thinks it's boring. Grandpa says, "I'll teach you a little something about math. Look, my boy, people always say the day is 24 hours long, but the truth, no. The real day is 23 hours, 56 minutes, and a few seconds. And that's something we wouldn't know without math. Math is what helps us understand the tiniest details of the universe. Math isn't boring like people think. It's in everything from calculating the age of the Earth to the distance between stars to building bridges and even the dancing you love. In the end, it's all numbers and counting. Even in my job, numbers tell people stories, and it's my job to calculate them right so someone doesn't lose everything. But remember, math also tells the truth, even if it hurts. It might tell you your chances at a certain job are better than another, not to make you sad, but to help you make the right choice. And you've got art inside you. If you use that art right, along with math, you can create a path for yourself that walks between dreams and reality. The next day, there's a school party, and Charles feels jealous when he sees Jenny dancing with Dougie. The dance instructor comes over to comfort him and says, "Don't upset yourself, boy. It's okay." Jenny comes over and says, "Come dance with me, Charles." But he refuses and uses the excuse that his leg hurts, even though in truth, it doesn't hurt at all. The dance instructor standing next to him tells him, "You're fine, Charles. Nothing's hurting you. But even so, I'm not saying you have to dance. The choice is yours." Charles walks outside, looks up at the moon for a bit, then decides to go back inside. He starts dancing with his classmate Jenny, and it's the first time Charles chooses to be happy in the moment just as it is regardless of anything else. He realizes he has to live the moment and enjoy himself because life doesn't need us to make it harder than it already is. The dance ends, and the audience is thrilled with them. Then we shift to the future. We see Charles married to his love, Jenny. He tells her that he lied about the scar on his hand. As he starts telling the story, we see a flashback. Mr. Marty is present in the scene. Charles had told Jenny that her boyfriend Dougie hit him because he was jealous. But the truth is, Charles had gone outside after the party and danced in the open air. And during one of the moves, he hurt himself. So, he made up the story to win her heart, to make her feel sorry for him, and leave Dougie. During Charles's teenage years, his grandfather passes away. Charles sits with his friend Sam, the same Sam we saw at the beginning of the film, and Sam tells him, "Your father was my lifelong friend and the best accountant in the company." He explains that Charles's grandfather always knew his time would come one day, and he pretty much knew how it would end too. Charles decides to live alone in his grandparents' house and refuses to move in with his mother's family, so they end up moving in with him instead. One day, Charles decides to open the room his grandparents always forbade him from entering. The room turns out to be empty and the floor is perfectly fine. He steps inside, looks out the window. Everything seems completely normal. But just as he's about to leave the room, he sees himself lying on a bed in his final days. And we find out that Charles's grandfather, while in the same room, had seen the man who hanged himself, had seen his wife as her life ended, and finally had seen himself lying on the floor holding his arm as his own life came to an end. In that room, people witness the end of their lives. Now the countdown has begun for Charles. He knows exactly how his life will end, but he refuses to let depression consume him because it's not about the end of life. It's about living it and enjoying it. And with that, the film ends. The idea of the movie is basically what's going on inside Charles's mind. The whole story was told in reverse from the final chapter to the first. And if you're wondering why all the characters stayed the same age throughout Charles's life stages, it's because they were never real people. They were just representations inside Charles's mind, inspired by people he met in his life. The ads thanking Charles for 39 great years reflect the legacy he hoped to leave behind. The way he wished people would remember him because his life ended when he was just 39. And that's it, dear viewer. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this summary, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments where are you watching from. Stay safe and goodbye.